You're listening to Sox in the Basement, a production of the Broadcast Basement Limited, where every show is 30 minutes of good and comes from a basement bar on the south side of Chicago. Pull up a stool, pour a cold one, and join us right now for Sox in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at soxinthebasement.com. Still no video on the YouTube. I promise we're going to get some soon. I want to make sure we have one more show from the 9-foot homemade oak bar because I'm selling the house. The guy who's buying it wants the bar. I'm going to have to build a new one at the next place. And it's a very complicated process. I never sold my home. Ed is my real estate attorney on this. You've been wonderful throughout it. And I wonder, am I crazier than most? Am I about normal? Do I stress too much about this? Like, where am I on the scale?
About the sale, no, you're about average. It was when you were talking about renting an apartment and dealing with the future potential landlords, that's where the rampant paranoia came in, and I started to wonder if you had gotten into some bad weed.
I mean, here's the thing. They're all scumbags. I mean, maybe not all of them. I mean, I did rent from somebody who seems like he's pretty good. But I mean, there are these companies throughout the south and southwest side and suburbs that have like 90% of the buildings. And they have weird policies like, you can apply, but apply for 5 of them at a time at $80 a pop for an application fee, and we'll give you some of the money back, but not all the money back. And we only start selecting people for the apartment when we have 5 applications in on the same apartment. So like, then it's like roulette. You don't know if you're going to get it. Plus the apartments are all slummy. And then when I found the really nice places, the first guy told me I was going to get appliances. I had appliances, right? You would expect that in an apartment. I was going to get appliances, and I was going to get to bring the dog. And then all of a sudden, it was no appliances, no dog. I've changed the deal, right as the lease showed up. And then another person, who was a beautiful place, beautiful. It was a condo that was being rented, and I had everything done. We were ready to go, and then the real estate agent calls me up and says, Chris, he's changed his mind this morning. He's decided he wants to sell the place now. And she was frustrated because he'd been trying to rent it for 6 months. And when he finally found a renter, he said, wait a minute, do I really want to rent it? And then he was like, do you want to buy it instead? And I was like, no, because the plan is to sell the house, erase the debt from the divorce, take a big, giant chunk of money. This will be the most money I've ever had in a bank account in my life. Big, giant chunk of money and put it in the bank. And then take that big, giant chunk of money that's left over from selling my house and use it as I go look for what I want in my own time. Right? Like tell my brother-in-law, the real estate agent, okay, we're in a nice little apartment now. One kid's off to school. The other one's never around because he's a high school kid. The other one spends half the time with his mother. Like, and I could just kind of sit back, relax, and kind of find exactly what I want and then move into that. So we're going to be kind of in a temporary place for a little while. I have a temporary place for the studio. And then eventually I'm hoping in the next 6 months to a year, everything is back to normal and I'm calm and I'm happy and I have my peace. And this is really like the last step after like 4 years of hell that I had to go through as the marriage fell apart, turned into a divorce, and then I got to here. So like, this is it. Like when I close on 9/2, it is going to be the day of days. I'm smoking a cigar. I'm drinking a bottle of bourbon. I'm sending out like messages to people like who doubted me. Like, guess what I did? I made it. Like, it's going to be like one of those days on the 2nd of September.
And in amongst all of that, your fiscal responsibility is something that Jerry Reinsdorf, when he listens to this show, and we know he listens,
should listen to me. It's smart what I'm doing.
Yeah, he might actually take some pointers off of you and figure out how to put together an actual Major League Baseball team next year.
Here's the thing. If you have good credit, you can call a credit card company and say, I'm going through a horrible divorce and I need a way to not like lose my shirt. And they'll be like, oh, we'll give you 0% for the next 2-3 years. And you're like, really? Yeah. And then when you get to the point where you're going to start getting interest, you go, well, I'll get all the equity out of the house and then I'll let the credit report drop everything back, get everything from the mid 700s to the 800s so I get the best rate on the next house. Like everything I'm doing is very fiscally responsible. That's not what Jerry Reinsdorf does. He's not. Well, maybe he is. See, that's the thing. No. Okay, hold on a second. Let's think about this. If he were fiscally responsible, he wouldn't have to go through this very long plan to sell the team where the guy who's going to eventually get it has to give him money because he's not meeting his bottom line. And so they are suffering financially. So he is failing and he's still miserly and he still doesn't put a real team on. And the only reason that we're getting any kind of excitement right now is that the manager's halfway decent and the general manager understands who his owner is. And that's why we have some semblance of a team. We could have very easily had another repeat of last year. We could have done last year all over again. Jerry Reinsdorf did nothing to contribute to the improvement of this team. He actually, to the detriment of this team, lowered the payroll. Everything here, I mean, you can hate Chris Getz, but you got to admit, with less, he's done more this year. You may not know very much about Will Venable or if you're sure about him yet, but man, he's better than Pedro and Grady. None of that has anything to do with the guy who I believe is keeping this announcer in the booth because he doesn't want to pay him to sit on the couch for a year and a half. The miser who needs an influx of money, and that's why he structured this deal with the eventual next owner.
Yeah, and it does show, and you're going to see something interesting as you're listening when the show comes out, because the Savannah Bananas are bringing Banana Ball to the rate this weekend, and that's going to be a sellout.
The tickets are more expensive than a White Sox game.
Oh my gosh, yes, they are, and it's going to be infinitely more entertaining. And it's one of those things where I was listening to the owner of the Bananas talk, and he was talking glowingly about Bill Veeck, right? And how that's one of his inspirations, to be a showman and stuff like that. Well, what's interesting is Jerry Reinsdorf could lean into that, okay, and be a showman, and it probably wouldn't cost him a whole heck of a lot more, because it's not like during Bill Veeck's run the White Sox were all that great. I mean, he a couple of stints here and there, but for the most part, you have a team that, if you're talking about fiscal responsibility, his responsibility seems to be to the shareholders. This is a team that is owned by a lot of individuals. And Justin Ishbia's role over the next few years is going to be to help make those individuals whole. But you're right, Chris Getz understands, and he gets it. And maybe that's the biggest difference after all, now that we've got more of a body of work on him, than what Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams had, where they always assumed that they were going to get the money at some point to rebuild it.
That's the biggest difference. The biggest difference is Chris Getz understands that the owner's cheap. That if you pay attention to some of his comments, he doesn't talk about how Kenny would be like. I'm just going to go in. I'm going to see Jerry. Jerry's going to take care of me. You don't understand what a great man this is. You don't understand, what he is. He's family. I believe in Jerry. I believe Jerry wants to spend the money. And then Jerry would let them down. Right? And then he's sitting there in his sunglasses talking about how he gave the best offer for Machado when it wasn't the best offer. There was far more guaranteed money from the Padres. And it was a bait and switch by Reinsdorf where essentially they would have bought him out in year 8 and saved themselves like $50-60 million. And he would have ended up with far less than his total contract that he gets from the San Diego Padres. But he's out there, and he knew deep down in his heart that Jerry had screwed him. And Rick, and yet he couldn't come to terms with it enough. He couldn't admit that he still misread this owner after being around him for so many years. Chris Getz knows who his owner is, for better or for worse. And I love that about him. That's the one thing that when a decision's being made, I sit there and I think to myself, at least he understands who his owner is. He needs to go out and he needs to make trades for players like Curtis Mead or Miguel Vargas that were high up draft picks that weren't given either an opportunity in Mead's case, or there was something structurally wrong with his swing, like in Vargas's case, and they identified it. And you don't know if it's going to work out because, again, the jury is still out on Miguel Vargas for sure, and Curtis Mead has only been up here for a little while. They got to figure that out as well. But you could see at least the purpose and the intent and what they're trying to do. And as for the ballpark and Jerry and Bill Veeck, you could just take certain little things in that stadium and make them less like a mall and more like the fun stuff that we remember Bill Veeck for very easily. Like the shower room. The shower room irks me. It used to be there was just a shower in the old ballpark. In the middle of the stands, if I'm not mistaken, right? There wasn't no concourse. No, you're just like in the bleachers. There's just a pole sticking up with a chain.
Just a pipe and a shower head and a chain.
The drunks would go over with their shirts off, and they'd hold their beer in one hand, and their buddy would pull the chain, and they would get soaked, and then somebody else would come on, and people would cheer, and it was like part of the crowd thing, right? And then when he built his new stadium, which was a mall, which was even far worse than what's there now, he had to go out and get U.S. Cellular, I think was the first one, and countless other stadium naming people. He had to go get them to make the improvements that he had. But when it was a mall, remember, it was it's just like a room in the back with a shower that nobody can see. And there's an advertiser of it, right? Normally like a plumbing company or something like that. We're going to find a way to sell the shower. I mean, it's just and some people say, well, that's not a big deal. No. Those are the fun things, right? You remove the fun and then it becomes stale. When they did that thing with the wedding with that couple, that was ridiculous. That was ridiculous. First of all, kudos to her, because most brides, they want a little more than that, right? Like
Right.
Most brides. I mean, yeah, they gave them each like a stadium box, and yeah, there was some food there, and they had a big party, and yeah, they got to do it in front of everybody. But she had to run in her dress out into center field for a quick 5-minute ceremony done by Ron Kittle in a jersey that said, I think it said the Reverend Ron or Reverend Kittle on the back of it.
Right.
And he does like just a really quick like thing. And then they are married. Like, I imagine that they probably actually had like a real wedding before or after that. And that was just like the fun thing that they ran out and did. Like, I can't imagine that was the actual wedding, because I can't imagine most brides. I mean, we've met brides before, right? Our own brides.
Yes, we have.
Our own brides
and others.
I know the bride that I had wouldn't have done that. And I don't think any girl I've ever dated would have done that. And I don't think you've ever met a girl that would have done that. So I'm like, think about that. That's what makes it so ridiculous. And I thought it was cool that they did it, but why don't you do it more? And even if they start to do it more, think of how you've kind of whitewashed the stadium and made it so bland. I mean, you got rid of an organist that is so revered throughout all of professional sports in Nancy Faust. So revered. And you have a conversation with Nancy like we have. She's been on the show before, and I've talked to her off the show. Nancy wasn't ready to go. Nancy wanted to stay. Nancy loves this stuff. You go to Nancy's. I've been in Nancy's house. She's got 5 organs in there, if I'm not mistaken. She just switches from organ to organ. She's got a whole room. She sits around in the middle of the day just for fun and plays. She loves this stuff. She loves it. And I guarantee if they put out a survey, would you like to see a live organist back there? Nancy will do them on the day she can, and then the day she can't, there'll be another person in there. It'd be overwhelming that people wanted that quirky little stuff. And that's the thing. They made it too plain. They made it too bland. They turned it into a mall. And those little changes that connect with the fans, those little changes that connect with the fans would go such a long way. I mean, he really is a guy who never understood, he never understood his fan base, but he never understood like the pageantry of baseball. For a guy that all of the glad-handling yes men that sit around and tell him what a great guy he is and go into the press and talk about what a great owner he is and what a great baseball guy he is, being able to say that you once saw like Jackie Robinson play and tell the same 5 stories about how your love of the Dodgers doesn't make you a baseball guy. Bill Veeck was a baseball guy. This guy's not.
No, and even the promos, the giveaways and stuff, it's every year. It's bobbleheads, it's an interesting shirt or two, it's a themed hat.
And now you got to get a special ticket for them.
And now you got to get a special ticket for it. And it's just, it doesn't lend itself to bring the family out, especially because it's so expensive. You mentioned, for example, how expensive Banana Ball is this weekend.
It's more expensive. I don't understand how you watch it from the upper deck. Like, I mean, it seems like one of those things where like you'd want to be like close, but you're spending a lot more money to be able to watch the thing in the upper deck. I mean, I may be wrong, but I believe that the gate for that will be higher than any gate of any White Sox game this season.
Absolutely. And part of it is that even if you're in the upper deck, okay, you can still see something interesting going on. You're still part of it. You're still part of that atmosphere. And don't get that mixed up with, okay, well, the team's got to be really great, because you can go to a ball game where the teams are both lousy and still have a really good time being around other fans.
This isn't even real baseball. This is the Harlem Globetrotters, for crying out loud. This would be like the Harlem Globetrotters walking in the Chicago Stadium and outdrawing the Bulls.
Which, once upon a time, that probably did happen.
And who was the owner when that happened? Rest my case. For exterior windows, doors, patio doors, and storm doors, look no further than Window and Door Superstore of Oak Forest. With no high-pressure sales or not in your kitchen, you're in their showroom looking at everything right there in full display, asking questions to an owner, because there's always one in showroom and there's always one on site. All Window and Door Superstore installers, they don't farm out the work, and they're very friendly when they come over to your house. I can say that firsthand. For 40 years they've been doing it, more than that, in Oak Forest since 1985, with all major brands custom-made and no-stock items for a perfect fit. They are a half block east of 159th and Ridgeland at 6280 159th Street. See more at windowdooroakforest.com. Yes, I mean, like that's what they need. They need somebody who just gets it. Like you need owners like the guy who has the Savannah Bananas owning a Major League Baseball team. Like Major League Baseball should be like, we need to find some financial backers for this guy. right? You're always trying to
bring some showmanship into it.
You're always trying to expand the game, right? They're always trying to find a way to get the fans more interested. Maybe we can, change the baseball. Maybe we can add, the robot umps. Maybe we could put a pitch clock in because people get bored, right? Well, I don't know. Maybe find some of these financial backers and get a guy like this in there. I don't think a guy like this could ever get in there, though. That's the thing, because now it's all just boring billionaires. That's all it is, just boring billionaires.
Right. And ones that tend not to understand what the value is for the dollar, right? And that's one of the things that goes on is, if we're going to see something where we're going to be entertained, not just by the baseball, but watching sweaty old fat guys in the shower in the stands, or back when an exploding scoreboard was a novelty, yeah, I mean that was something that you look forward to. The fireworks is something you could look forward to. But a lot of that stuff is so commonplace now that you have to continually innovate to make it interesting walking around the ballpark. I'm sorry, the kid zone is fine, but it's not like something that, really wraps anybody's attention. I don't go there to take my kids there, even when they were little enough to do it. My kids are too old now. But there's just nothing at the ballpark besides, hey, come and eat our food, which is expensive. Come and sit in our seats, which is expensive. Come and watch our team that we don't spend money on. And the most interesting thing you're likely to see is if somebody gets into a fight in center field because they finally had it with the Red Sox fan that's out there.
But you know what you can't do? You can't make a cup snake. You can't have fans having fun out in the bleachers. You can't have a cup snake. You can't do that. That's wrong. I don't know why. I still haven't figured it out. Is it because of the liquids that are dripping from the cups? Like, do they find it unsanitary? What do you think is the reason for the cup snakes? Like that they get such a reaction. Like, I think security gets to the cup snake quicker than they get there for a fight.
Well, for one thing, the cup snake is a slower build than the fights. I mean, the fights kind of happen.
Yeah, you're right. They really should identify the cup snake when there's about 20 cups. They wait until it gets to about 40 or 50. So the response time is probably poor there as well with the cup snake. When you were talking about the promotions, and we mentioned the fact that now you got to buy special tickets for these promotions, it reminded me, like, it's not a far cry from Jerry Reinsdorf to Bill Wirtz. Dollar Bill Wirtz, when he owned the Blackhawks before Rocky took it over, that was the worst owner in all of sports. But it's not very different. The whole thing with the promotions smacks of Bill Wirtz, because I went to a game one time. I don't know if it was United Center or it was still Chicago Stadium, because I'm old enough that I would have seen a game there too. But I went there one time and it was third deck, and I go in, and I paid $20 for that seat. I was a kid. I think I was a teenager, so it's probably United Center. And it was hat night, and everybody gets a hat. Except when I got there with my third level ticket, I was denied the hat and said, third level doesn't get hats. Because I didn't spend enough on my ticket to get the promotional hat. And I always found that to be like the most insulting thing in the world. What the Sox are doing now with get the special ticket for it. Like, some people justify it as, well, then that way the people that really want it get it. And there's not like a big rush for it, right? But I see it as, it's like dollar Bill Wirtz. Like, you haven't given me enough for me to give you the thing that I didn't even spend money on, because the sponsor whose logo's on there actually bought the hat.
Well, that's the thing. Right, the hats.
There's a logo on that item. They don't think the White Sox paid for it, right? Yeah, give me a break. Somebody paid to put their logo on the item.
And yeah, every promotional giveaway I've got, I can't give to my kids to wear to school because a lot of them say Miller Lite on it, and you can't get away with that in schools anymore.
Right.
Walking in with a beer logo, but
back in the 80s, you could. No seatbelts, open containers, and Miller Lite shirts in the second grade. The good old days.
Exactly. I used to walk around with a pack of smokes tucked up under my sleeve. And if you're not going to spend the money on the field, and I'm not entirely sure baseball has enough drawing power, especially for kids and younger generations, that they want to see anybody. I mean, they might want to see Shohei Ohtani because he's something of an anomaly and a freak, and in a good way, right? And you might want to sit there and see a team that's good, but you don't really care about the baseball on the field. What you're really doing is it's the fan experience. It's that sense of community and belonging where we're all enjoying something together and witnessing a moment together. And you can make those if you're not going to spend a lot on the team on payroll, you can make those still happen, and you can make it interesting for me to come out there and spend my money. But the fact is that, again, it's pricey as hell, even to go to the 500 level for family 4. You're going to spend a lot of money going there on a regular basis.
You get the $7 ticket and move around. You can still do that. You can buy the $7 ticket, and you don't buy it through Ticketmaster. Walk up to the window and walk around. You can still do that. You
can still do that, but you're going to spend. I mean, you bring your kids.
Make a sandwich.
They're going to want to eat.
Put a sandwich in your pocket. Put a sandwich. Get a couple of protein bars. Stick them in your pocket.
Protein bars. Yeah.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Okay. Or you know what? Eat at Cork and Carry at the park before you go over there. That's what you do.
That's the better bet, right?
Bring the kiddies over. It's really family friendly before the games. They have the location of 33rd and Princeton, the shadow of the ballpark, with an award-winning menu of burgers and ballpark favorites, an extensive bar with a rotation of craft beers, familiar favorites, spirits, and wines. It's your home base for White Sox pregame, postgame, and viewing parties, and they're the proud sponsors of Sox in the Basement. And my kids love going there before the game. So that's what I'm saying. Spend your money at the Cork. It's reasonable. It's good. Save it at the ballpark. Buy the $7 ticket. I can get around this stuff, Ed. I can get around all this stuff. And back to what you're talking about. I pick my games based upon the night that they're being played, if it fits my schedule, more than I do because of the team. Like if they're in contention, then yeah, it's the team, right? Like you're in a pennant chase. Like, all right, here we go. We're in a pennant chase with the Guardians. I'm going to run over there and I'm going to get tickets for that game. I want to see that game.
Yeah, I get that. This is a make or break for the season, but why do you do that? Why do you care and go out of your way on that? It's because the park is going to be electric, right? You're going to have fun because everybody else is having fun.
Well,
right?
think about why people pick games, because that's the thing. Like we've had season tickets on and off over the years as a family, and then we've sat down and tried to split up who wants what. I mean, my dad's always got to find the nights that like when we're doing like a draft or figuring things out, he wants like warm nights because my mother's miserable in the cold. And he says every year, this is what happens, Ed, every year. They go to a game. It's nice out during the day. He's like, it's going to get cold out there. And she goes, I'll be fine. And she gets a brand new White Sox $300 starter jacket by like the 6th inning because she's freezing.
Right.
Like that's how she gets a brand new hoodie, or she gets a brand new, right? Like I think she knows she's getting something, right? Like that's the game.
Your mom's very smart.
She's very smart.
Yeah.
She shows up, she sits there, she looks at him about the 5th inning, she goes, it's getting really cold. I think we should go home. And he's like enjoying himself. He's like 4 or 5 beers in, and he's like, all right, just go buy yourself something nice. That's what he does, right?
Yeah,
and then she likes the fireworks nights, so she used to always want like the Friday nights because of the fireworks, and so that you would see him skew towards those. I was always that guy that if I thought they were going to be in a pennant race, I wanted games late in the year that I thought were going to matter. But if I didn't think they were going to be in a pennant race, then I was sitting there saying, what nights make sense for me? Like it depended. Like if I was single, it was certain nights of the week. If I knew that when I was married and I had kids, it was other nights of the week. But it was like I was looking at what fit my schedule at that point. And I think that people buy tickets for so many different reasons. It's not always just because of the matchup. Sometimes the visiting team's fans, they travel really well. That's where the boost is coming from. It's not coming from.
Did you hear the cheers in the Detroit series?
Right. It's not coming from Sox fans wanting to see Detroit in that example. It's from Detroit fans traveling down because their team is so good. So if you make the stadium fun and you make it an experience and you give people a reason for their entertainment dollar to go there, you'll get more people that'll come in there. And you are now starting to play a solid brand of baseball. It's not quite there yet. I was feeling a lot more positive a week and a half ago. I mean, here, I got a couple of questions before the show ends. Yeah. Before the Sox nerd walks in. I got just a couple of quick observations this week. First off, why is Kyle Teal playing every day and Edgar Carroll's playing half of them? Because if you just look over the last week, or the last 6 games, I just went to Fangraphs because I noticed this, so I want to see it. If I go to Fangraphs and I just see look up where everybody's playing, Teal has played catcher 4 times in the last 6 games and DH twice. So over the last week, 6 games, that's what's happened. He's DH twice and caught 4 times. He's played in all 6 games. Carroll has caught twice, DH once, and sat on the bench for 3. And I just, I know you might be playing matchups, but they're young. Give them all the at-bats you can possibly get them. And Carroll's been playing well. So, I mean, it is kind of, that's weird to me. Every once in a while, I just kind of like look at it and I go, I don't know, that doesn't make logical sense. I'm sure there's a reason for it. I never hear what the reason is, but I'm sure there's a reason for it. It's those quirky little things you get from a team that isn't really going anywhere. But there's a brand of baseball out there that's worth going and seeing. if you're having attendance problems now, then some of that comes from the product you're giving people in addition to the players on the field, I would say.
Yeah, and it's a whole thing. It's not just the players. It's not just the game. It's the whole presentation. And it really is time to sit there and think, how am I wrapping these presents up for these people? And are they excited to open it? And the answer is,
And why are the Savannah Bananas outdrawing us this year in our own ballpark?
Are you telling me Colson Montgomery can't get on stilts and dance?
It's now time to conclude this weekend edition of Sox in the Basement, as we always do, with the Sox nerd, Dave Marin, who puts all those trivia nuggets and tidbits up on the scoreboard at the rate, and he's brought to you by the Village of Lamont. Want to experience a downtown with great eats and drinks, real history, and green spaces filled with adventure? Visit the Village of Lamont. Shop, dine, drink, explore, see everything they have going on all summer long at lamontdowntown.com. Nerd, what do you got for me?
Fellas, here's what's been going down Sox nerd style with the White Sox since the last time I was on. Lenyn Sosa entered the weekend with 14 home runs, which is already 6 better than his career best set a year ago. That home run title is tied for third among American League second basemen, with Tampa's Brandon Lau first at 24. The Sox home run record for second baseman is 21, set by Alexei Ramirez in that magical season of 2008. I get a lot of mileage out of Sosa's 2-out splits on the old scoreboard. Whenever he bats with 2 gone, I try to post a stat on his homers or RBIs in that situation because they're pretty good. As of right now, 15 of Sosa's 29 homers have come with 2 outs. That's 52%. His career 2-out RBI ratio is at 53%. In case you are wondering, Miguel Vargas is the Sox leader with 23 2-out RBI, while Andrew Benintendi has a team-best 6 2-out homers. Speaking of twos, Sosa leads the big leagues with 19 hits on an 0-2 count. His average in that situation is .284, but that's not as good as Edgar Caro, who is batting .375 in 24 at-bats on 0-2. Benintendi and Brooks Baldwin are the only Sox with homers on an 0-2 count this season. A couple of more on Sosa. He was the first person born in the 21st century to play for the Sox, and he and Grover Deacon Jones are the only players to homer for the Sox while wearing number 50. The Sox emerged from the Tiger Series leading the majors with 42 second-half homers. With 41 games to go, the Sox will have to hit 68 homers to eclipse the 2004 club record of 119. That's probably not going to happen, but it is nice to see the home run fireworks at the park a little more often lately. Albert Bell hit a Sox second-half record 31 home runs in 1998. Colson Montgomery is the Sox current leader in this department with 10 round-trippers. And one more. Corey Julks' recent stint with the Sox was brief, but he did notch 2 doubles with 2 runs off the bench in a game on August 8th, making him just one of 2 players in club history to do that. The other was Clint Brown, a pitcher who did it on June 2nd, 1936 in New York. Joe DiMaggio and Lou Gehrig were in the lineup for the Yankees that day. Before I get to my zinger, I remind you that gems like these and long-form pieces are on my blog, where I am posting a daily random Sox quick list, which you can link to at soxinthebasement.com. My zinger, in honor of the 20th anniversary of the World Champions, I'm going to zing frequently about that team, throwing out some gems you may not know about the 2005 Sox. It was free-swinging Juan Uribe who led the 05 champs with 14 hits in an 0-2 hole, while Tadahito Oguchi was the team's top 2-out hitter with a .295 average. That's it, guys. Probably more than you wanted to know about Lenyn Sosa, 2-out RBI, and 0-2 hitters.
Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement.
Sox in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always on soxinthebasement.com.